Welcome to the Shoot It Straight podcast. We're back here to talk about nutrition today.
Very nutrition heavy topics today.
Cody is ready for his day of golf.
Yes.
His first full day as a member of a country club.
Yeah, because now I'm an official member. The other day I was a prospective member, but we joined, and this will be my first day going out there and playing a full round and seeing how I do.
Yeah.
On my new course.
Yeah.
My new home course. Our home course. Erika will also be.
Yeah, I still haven't made it to the country club. It just hasn't happened yet for no reason other than other things coming up for me. But I am looking forward to being a member, seriously.
Yeah, I'm looking very, very much forward to using the practice facilities.
Yes.
Bringing my handicap down, playing a few holes, which has always been, when you're busy, it's tough to get out there and play 18 or 9. And,
yes.
and with being a member of a club, and this one just happens to be like a 10-minute walk from our house. So I can use, if you live in Tulsa and you drive down 81st Street, it's a pretty busy street. You might see me pushing my clubs down the street and look like a crazy person, but it's going to be great. So I can practice. I can play a couple holes if I want, use all the practice facilities, and we'll see where I can take my game this year with all this extra work I'll be putting in on the course, and see how the whole golf fitness translates over into the course big time. I mean, I've always done that. I've always had the opportunity to go practice and things like that, but this is going to be definitely a level up for me.
Well, yes, I feel like though you've been in grooves before. When you worked at a country club before and you were golfing quite a bit.
And in Austin, I got to go play quite a bit. We lived just down the street from a course.
We just kind of had like a hiatus when we were in Florida, I think, where just life was happening, and it was also very expensive to just go play a round of golf. To your point, like being able to go get a practice round in would be a moot point. So you have to go make sure you get your 18 in plus driving range time to like make it worth your drive / money.
Yep. So you're talking, there's your whole day right there. So yeah. And if you don't have all your work done, then you've got to cut it short or work while you're out there. And it's just very nice that I can go play 3 holes if I want and practice and not get in trouble with the wife. And it's great.
Oh, I love how that's a thing.
Oh, that's definitely a thing. All men know that's a thing.
Well, I look forward to going out on the course too.
Yes.
And for beginners, it's like good to go out and be able to exact same thing. I don't want to always play 18 holes, or that could be a lot for somebody who's like still practicing and working on their game. So like I'm looking forward to being able to go out and practice on the practice holes. Another
perk of joining a club is because you do like to kind of skip holes here and there. And
yes,
if you pay for a full 18, I mean, granted we're paying for it, but it doesn't feel like as obligated to play every single hole,
right.
Because you can just go do it again tomorrow and your rate doesn't change. Whereas if you don't play all 18 holes today and you paid for all 18, and you're missing out. Because Erika does like to kind of skip the par 5s every once in a while when her driver's name is Hazel, because she hits it off the hosel.
I hit every club off the hosel. It's gotten a lot better.
You have gotten a lot better, but sometimes when her driver's not cooperating, or the long clubs, she just doesn't like playing par 5s, which is understandable because it takes a while to get there if you're not hitting the ball very far with your long clubs. So.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I just like to be able to take a break. And I mean, this goes back to like, I'm always impressed by these senior players that are 80 years old out there literally playing 18 holes of golf. I'm truly impressed. It's exhausting.
Walking.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It's exhausting. And again, when it's hot and like all that stuff too, it can be a lot. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to being able to play like a solid 13 to 15 holes, which is
She's just going to create her own course.
I mean, choose your own adventure.
I like this hole. I don't like that hole.
I think it's just, I have no ambitions of being an awesome golfer. I don't anticipate being competitive. For me, it's like.
They have couples tournaments. I think we should,
We will see.
Out.
We will see. I am looking forward to like swinging the golf club again because it's been a while for me. We went a couple times in Florida and that was fun or whatever. But like it'll be cool to be able to like at least just get some consistency in there and be able to go hit balls. I'm just also looking forward to winter being over and just being able to be outside a little bit.
And being a part of a community, like this is going to be something new for us. We've never been a part of a country club before where we can go and have, dinners and, hang out, and they have all these different events and things that'll be fun. And we can network and make new friends.
Play bingo.
I don't think they have bingo. They have poker.
Oh, stag night.
Well, it's men's stag night, but I'm sure they have like ladies' night poker and stuff too, or couples, or like women will be allowed sometimes to go play poker.
Yeah, sometimes. Anyway, we'll talk about your golf game today because we definitely want to get into the nutrition side of golf today, and specifically we'll talk about how to literally eat for a day of golf. like pre-round,
Absolutely.
during round, post-round, sort of our recommendations for that.
You get that question a lot.
It's a great question. It's also, of course, nuanced and it depends. So that's why, again, it'll be important that we kind of have a longer conversation about it, because it's not necessarily black and white. It's going to, depend a lot on time of day and whatever your goals are, what your diet's like. We'll definitely talk about that. I think it'll be interesting for us to talk a little bit about, though, before we get started on like the nitty gritty knowledge stuff on nutrition, is like kind of maybe talking a little bit about where we're both at with our own nutrition and what our goals are right now.
That'd be fun.
Okay. Well, yeah,
you lead us off because you're the expert.
I'll lead off. I'm the expert.
You are, so that way I can make sure mine's just as good.
Well, I just wanted to kind of start talking a little bit more about, because I feel like some of this stuff, especially for women, it's like we don't talk about how much we weigh. We don't talk about bulking. We don't talk about putting on muscle and cutting and all that. So we just don't talk about our own personal journeys as much. I feel
why is that?
Well, because for so long it's been like this thing that's like, it's almost like shamed that we're not supposed to talk about it, or these certain numbers that are in our heads that we should or shouldn't be, or I don't know. I'm here to like crush those norms a little bit. I think that's
how you've always been.
I think it's important to talk about. So anyway, right now, okay, so back up a little bit. I'm 5'6", and right now I'm hovering around 140 pounds. I was, for a long time, a lot smaller than that. A lot of that was just being a late bloomer. I was sick with Crohn's for a long time. So I was just a small bodied human being. And then when I got into distance running in my 20s, I was also like kind of a smaller, like human being by nature of just being an endurance runner. That's just sort of the shape that I was in. I was pretty competitive, whatever.
The adaptation of running, you just are smaller.
It was a little bit of like chicken or the egg. Like I kind of wasn't necessarily, always built to be a runner per se, but like I think I had the frame for it, which is probably why I was good at it, which is probably why I continue to do it, like et cetera, right? But anyway, now that I've been like doing more, we've talked about like how we've been tracking macros now for about 5 years, lifting weights for about 5 years consistently on both of those things. Have definitely put on some muscle mass over the years. It's taken quite some time, but probably we could say like at least 15 to 18 pounds overall that I've gained compared to like 122 pounds now up to like, anywhere between like 135, 145 is like generally where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. When you're super lean, like you have very low body fat.
Well, it's important to talk about that.
Right.
I mean, it's important to talk about. I think, again, I don't know where my body fat percentage is. I don't think that's necessarily as important. I am lean. I'm probably sub 20. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, that's where I just sit naturally. I think that part of it is genetics for me, honestly. Like I don't necessarily think that a lot of the women that I coach necessarily just naturally would sit closer to maybe more like 25%. And again, super, super individual, super dependent on like what our health histories are and things like that. But you okay?
Hmm?
Just making sure you were not giving me
my throat was scratching, so I didn't want to do it into the microphone.
Feel free to take a drink of my Quick Trip coffee that's now sponsoring the podcast. I wish. So anyway, we've done lots of iterations of different phases of cutting and bulking over the years. And I think that we get really scared of hearing like the word bulk, especially as women, but men too. I've definitely coached plenty of men that definitely feel like gaining weight and putting size on in any way is a bad thing, because that's what we've been taught for so long. And to your point of bringing up like, I'm lean. Yeah, like I would of course rather be putting on some lean mass rather than like putting on body fat. But like, again, this goes back to like what we actually weigh. There's so much more to it than that. Is our body composition matters a lot. We're made of muscle, we're made of skin, we're made of organs, we're made of bones, we're made of, lean mass, fat mass, all those things. But it's important to recognize that we definitely can't be super, super lean all the time, right? Like I can definitely hang on to 135, but I don't like to do that year round because it just naturally isn't super sustainable, right? And I also like continue to want to get stronger. I've been doing a lot of lifting lately. I've been pretty sticking to my Paragon training methods programming for the last 3 to 4 months.
Nice plug.
Well, yeah. And I think, Brian Bornstein's programming is great, especially for those of us that like to work out hard but also want to have like a good balance of recovery. I think it's a really good, smart program for those of us that just want to get strong and have a good body composition. So anyway, over the last like several months, I've been putting on a little bit of size. Most of that, I think, has been honestly a lot of lean mass because I've been pretty strict about lifting weights. I haven't really been doing a lot of cardio at all. And I would like to think that means that because I'm getting stronger in a lot of my lifts, that's probably means I'm putting on some lean mass. That's cool. Scale's been going up about a pound every couple of weeks. So like pretty slowly, I've worked my way up from like 136, 137. Now I'm up to like 142, 143. So that's like 5 pounds. And again, like, this is over the course of like almost 5 months, probably, honestly, 4 to 5 months, where I've put on that amount of size. We can probably gain and lose water weight that quickly, right? We can see 2, 3, 4 pounds come and go on the scale day to day. But if we're tracking our weight 6 to 7 times a week and we're actually seeing trends over time, like we can be sure of like where things are actually going, right? I always tell people the needle is not going to move that quickly day to day. Give it time. Track your trends, etc. So anyway, I feel like I've been putting on size for a little bit of a while. I've been eating a lot of food. I've also just kind of like truly just been eating a lot of food and not tracking as very rigidly as like I sometimes do. I think it's important to take tracking breaks. I've been doing that for a little while. I think it's a great time of year to do that when it's the winter time. Everyone wants to diet in January. I kind of like don't care because it's still like the thick of winter. But I think for me, I'm ready to probably just start to track again. I'm feeling really good in the gym. I don't anticipate doing a harsh cut or anything like that, but I want to get back to tracking my macros and just being a little consistent. For me specifically, it's like a little bit more about food quality. I've been eating a lot of like just snacky things lately. I'm obsessed with those Kodiak bears that I eat like every day. And
you usually eat like a couple of those a day, right?
I eat like I eat like a box a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I go shopping, I have to clear out every shelf.
If I had to guess, I'm probably eating like 2,600 calories every day.
And that's maintaining weight.
Pretty much maintenance. Like, again, I've been slowly increasing my weight like a little bit like every other week. But yeah, I mean, I'm maintaining on that. And I do feel like I'm getting a little bit like, I don't feel good. When you start to eat like a lot of that stuff, I don't feel my best. So I feel like it's starting to kind of just like affect my gut health a little bit, or like my sleep is kind of not always there. So anyway, my own personal goal right now is to get back to tracking consistently. And if I am going to eat bears or processed, I'm going to track it and be honest with myself about what that looks like. Because I generally like to live in the 90-10 rule. I like 90% of my foods to be really, really good. And then like the other 10%, which is pretty small, be fun foods.
Because Erika does love chocolate ice cream.
I love desserts, and I believe in eating that stuff, y'all. Yeah. I do, but I also literally eat.
Alex Formosi, never skip dessert, hashtag.
I do not skip dessert. I definitely don't skip dessert. I eat usually something that I like that every day. But I also literally eat like vegetables and meat for breakfast. Like I definitely can feel like I take care of myself most of the time.
Yeah, I mean when you track, like you are more consistent than anyone. I mean, way more than me, obviously. Like I will just go out and enjoy myself every once in a while, a little bit more than you.
Well,
we'll go out to dinner or a diner, maybe not dinner. We don't do dinner a whole lot, diners. And Erika will stick to like her veggie omelet, and I will go and get biscuits and gravy and pancakes and all of the things.
Yeah, well, I think listen, there's a reason for that for me, and it really always, for me, it always comes back to how I feel. Seriously, I don't like to feel like shit. And eating a lot of really dense food like gravy and biscuits, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, it's bad for you, because I really think that people should enjoy their food. You can also have a little bit of that and not necessarily feel bad.
I'm starting to learn that, because last time I didn't finish all my pancakes.
Yes.
I was like, okay, you know what? I've had enough.
Because you just don't.
Because normally I'll just eat them all.
Yes. You start your day off, you eat that at 8 a.m. and then you're like, oh, I kind of feel like kind of gross the rest of the day. Like you can't really recover from that.
The rest of the day I did just eat, because that was just last Sunday.
Last Sunday.
Then I just ate steak and vegetables the rest of the day.
Right.
Which was fine.
Which is totally fine. Your body probably was like, thank you for that. So I can continue to process the carbs throughout the day or whatever.
And all the fat and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, so it comes back to that. But anyway, like, yeah, you can, by the way, like I love going to a diner. I love crushing a solid 800, 900,000 calorie meal. But again, I will prefer that to come from like a lot of more like protein heavy sources. So I will like crush the eggs and throw on the vegetables. I'm all about the potatoes. But like, yeah, when you get into the heavy syrupy gravy, like that gets you probably consume like 2,000 calories in that meal, I guess, or something like that.
Oh,
it's a lot.
For sure.
It's
and
a
then
lot.
like, 3 more cups of coffee while I was at it.
It's a lot. But yeah, I think, again, it's important to just check in with yourself, and also just wanted to share just in terms of transparency and like the fact that we're human beings that like definitely go through ebbs and flows of like, yeah, I could probably tighten things up a little bit or whatever. But also this comes from years of experience of tracking, knowing when it's good to take a break, knowing when it's ready to get back dialed in. And also I think what's important is like, there's not really a time where, you and I both, where it's like, oh shit, all of a sudden I put 15 pounds of body fat on. Like that's not happening. I think like letting our bodies have a break and being able to flux within a certain like 10-pound range is actually very healthy and very normal. But once we get to the point where we're just constantly gaining and losing and we're just kind of cycling because we're like binging and then restrict, like,
and then going nuts with it.
That is a completely different ball game. And that's, again, something that I really try to unpack with my clients is like, you don't have to be on the extremes. There is a middle area of like, yeah, you're being a little bit more forgiving with your diet for a few weeks, and that's fine. And then like, that's it. You just reel it back in. There's no punishment around it. There's no restriction around it. For me, a matter of like, okay, cool. Maybe I'm floating around 2,600 calories plus on like those days I'm having extra treats. If I just get dialed back in and start tracking closer to 2,300 calories, which is still a decent amount of food for a female, then I'm probably going to be able to tighten things up and really not have to change a lot. It's just a matter of like having a few less handfuls of like the extra snacks every day.
Right. And I've had that with clients before too. That they would just kind of go out and enjoy themselves, and they'd be like, oh, and they kind of gave themselves a break because they just know they're like, okay, to get right back on, all I got to do is just go back to this, to tracking just a little bit closer. And it's really not that big a deal. They allowed themselves to enjoy. And then, when it was time to come back, they came right back. They didn't, spend a year like going off the rails, they just a week or something like that. And then they brought it right back in and they were good to go.
Yes. Yeah. And so in summary, I think, again, tracking is a tool. It's a tool that I will always preach off the highest mountains, that I think is like, you can't unlearn it. It's very educational to know where you're at with your food. I don't anticipate or expect people to do it forever, but you'll always be able to come back to it and know like where your baseline is at, and be able to fit in like foods that you still enjoy, as long as you're kind of just keeping tabs on yourself and being honest with yourself. So yeah, so looking forward to my like keeping it tight journey. How about you? Where are you at in your fitnessing and your nutritioning?
So let's start back, my first time where I really like looked at my nutrition, and it was from a totally different lens. I was, when I first started lifting, I think I've mentioned it several times, started lifting weights about 22 years ago when I was 14 years old. I was a skinnier kid. I got picked on a little bit, so like that's why I really started lifting weights. That was one of the reasons why. But anyways, so I wanted to be bigger. I didn't want to be the little kid anymore. I've always been relatively short. How tall did you say you are?
I'm 5'6".
So I'm like 5'6" and a half, 5'7". just to make sure I'm a little bit tall.
Same as me.
No, I'm taller. Okay. We've measured. But anyways.
Okay.
So, yeah, back then, I mean, I went through some crazy stuff. So like if you're like a younger kid out there and they're called hard gainer or something like that, you actually have to like really try to gain weight. And it was hard for me because like, I was like young guy, I was busy all the time, or I was out moving, working all the time. I was a young kid, but I was out playing all the time, working out hours every day, and then, just doing all sorts of activities. So I was burning tons of calories, and I would literally make these like crazy protein shakes. I had protein powders. I would put bananas. I put ice cream, whole milk into them, chug those down.
Peanut butter too, right? No,
I didn't like peanut. I only started eating peanut butter a few years ago, but and I don't eat it right now. But I mean, I'd even like eat chicken, like, and I'd be so full that I would like chase it down with water and like swallow like almost like chicken whole, just to get my calories in, just to try to get bigger. I don't recommend you do that, but yeah, that's what I did when I was younger. Cause like, you know, they've done studies now where actually you will like gain like some fat cells that'll never go away if you like, you know, hard gain like that. But anyways, like getting adequate calories in, not to the extreme that I did, but it was tough to gain weight because I was really small, and then I got bigger, and then kind of stayed around that weight. So let's call that like 150, like it's probably what I got to like when I graduated high school. And then there was a time where I really didn't pay much attention to nutrition when I was in college, when I was in the restaurant business. Paying attention to nutrition was actually the food we were making, and I was eating it and tasting it all day because like it's part of quality control. And also we've talked about the alcohol thing. So I just kind of did that for a while. But yeah, like about 5 years ago, we did that challenge and we started like focusing on our macros. And I do like to kind of play around with it from time to time. I like to kind of lean out, you know, get a little ripped looking. And it could be like performance based is typically why I do that. Like if we were doing like endurance races, it did help to not be too big, to be just a little bit lighter. But I always wanted to eat for performance. So, and I did like to just kind of dabble and see what I could do with my body. But now where I'm at is I'm training just for golf. And one thing that does help you play golf and swing the club faster or create more force is to be just a little bit bigger, to have more mass. All right, so like Newton's second law of motion is force equals mass times acceleration. So to get a little technical in here, so you accelerate fast, that's, you know, you swinging the club, but then mass times acceleration equals force. So if you're just a little bit bigger, you can create more force and hit the ball farther. So that's where I'm at now. So I'm trying to gain a little bit.
John, rum it up.
Sure. I mean, like there's tons of guys that you know, if you look at like Rory McIlroy, like TPI had a really cool thing where they, you know, showed him, you know, as he's still not a big guy, but he's bigger than he used to be. I think he gained something like 20 pounds. And that's
Rory did?
Yeah, from like you know, 10 years ago or something like that, or longer.
No, that's
Justin Thomas
like
too.
Same
Like
as me. That's a significant amount of like.
Yeah, you look at these guys like you're like, what? Justin Thomas is still skinny. It's like.
Yeah.
But he used to be skinnier. Like they all used to be like smaller, and then they've gotten a little bigger because that actually keeps them from being injured, and also helps them hit the ball farther because it does create more force.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at, and I have been. So now I'm up to about 170. I don't know, 173, 174 pounds. Just a couple years ago, I was all the way down at like 153 pounds. You know, during the pandemic, I wanted to like get really lean, and you know, just because I think it was just kind of boredom. Like, you know, I wanted to like do a bodybuilding workout and see how I could look.
Yeah, you did get really lean because I do remember we were close to the same weight at that point, which is funny. Like if we talk about like our extremes, I think I was closer to like 145 and you were lean, and so we would like weigh the same, which is really crazy.
And it really goes to show like, you know, how different, you know, exercise programs can all like give you different results depending on your nutrition. So your nutrition is always going to be like what your physique ends up looking like.
Yes.
Because I did a bodybuilding type program then, which if I would have consumed more calories, I would have got really big. But instead I consumed less calories. And
were you doing your own programming, or were you following Paragon too?
I think I was doing like physique. I was doing like Paragon.
I think you were doing Paragon as well during the pandemic.
Yeah. You know, and then I was also like, I was playing a lot of golf then too, but you know, it was the pandemic. We were bored. So like I wanted to like, it was like, let me just do it this way. And, you know, instead of strictly just training for golf. But yeah, so, you know, like if I would have followed that same program and consumed a caloric surplus, I would have gotten really big. You know, I would have had like big chest, big arms, because it was like a bodybuilding physique type program, right?
Well, yeah, but again, you need to be,
you had to be eating. So, but I was eating to get lean. And so I did get really lean. But you know, I didn't like being that lean. I didn't feel as strong. I started not sleeping well because I was in such a caloric deficit, which we'll talk about that some other time. But, so yeah, but now fast forward, you know, 2023, that was early on in the pandemic. That was like May pandemic times. You know, now, it's all for performance. So when I track my macros, I'm slowly adding in more. Right now I'm adding more carbs. I've kind of like maxed out my protein a while ago. Like I think I'm up to like 215 grams of protein, which is pretty maxed out.
It's plenty for you.
That's plenty of protein. You know, so now I'm like slowly increasing carbs. And what's fun about counting macros is that it's very easy to just kind of add in a little bit more. And then when I want to come back down, I'll just start taking that stuff away, because we eat the same stuff. Like we like the same foods every day. Like, so I really have no problem eating the same stuff every day.
Yep.
So for example, like I added in bagels. is like what I eat like very first thing in the morning. And then rode that out for a couple weeks. Like, and then I kind of started plateauing on my weight again. So now I want to like go up again. So like now I'm adding in rice, or I'm adding in another tortilla,
another banana or something.
Adding in another banana or an apple or whatever it is. And then when I get to where I want to be, I'll start tapering that back off and figure out what my maintenance is. And so I think macros just makes it the easiest way to make sure you're getting in adequate calories. So like you can use macros to maintain, to bulk, to cut, and that makes it really easy to do all that stuff. So it's not just for, hey, I want to be this like crazy calorie counter and make sure that I'm cutting and looking a certain way. It's for performance for me.
Yes.
Because as soon as I start to not be at maintenance or above, my performance starts to increase. And I'll notice like, because right now I'm squatting 3 times a week, and I'm doing 5x5s. It's my Golf Strong program is what I'm following. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm squatting and I'm trying to add, a pound to the bar, up to 5 pounds to the bar. And if I'm not eating enough, it's not going to happen.
Yes.
Like, especially with the weights I'm at right now.
Yes.
There's no way if I'm not eating in a caloric surplus, like I'm going to be tired. There's no way my body's going to want to squat, 315 for 5x5s.
Yes.
If I'm not like hitting it with carbs and stuff like that. So it's for performance is, why we track macros. Obviously, you can use it for other things, especially if you are a little overweight or something like that, that's when someone would go see you, or if they want to do it for performance or bulk, but like, to really try to dial in your macros for certain goals like that is a little different, but you can use it for everything. And, I think it's also the most sustainable way, because if you do want to go out and live your life, a lot of places, a lot of restaurants have their foods available, and you can put your macros in and plug it in for dinner, and you can kind of work backwards. Like if we were dead set on, if I was really wanting to track my macros for going out to dinner tonight to a restaurant, even if it was sushi, like Yokozuna's not on there on my Fitness Pal, but I could find a spicy tuna roll and plug that in. Yeah. And I could work backwards today and then figure out what I need to eat to still hit my macros for the day. If I really, really wanted to. It's not that big of a deal, because then when you go to the restaurant, you already know what you like to eat. I already know what I'm going to order if we go.
But again, this is speaking from someone who's been tracking for a really long time. And I think we have to remember that everyone's at a different level, and you can definitely get yourself to that level. And it's not that hard to get yourself to that level. But you got to be able to put in the work a little bit. I tell people to give themselves like 6 months of tracking.
100%.
To like practice, go through the weekends, go through trial and error on eating out. Know that you don't have to be perfect, like the whole thing, right? Because it is overwhelming for people to be like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, how do I eat out? There isn't like a how to eat out as much as we want to hack our way through nutrition. But the more comfortable you get with portion sizes, measuring at home, and getting like just comfortable with that, the easier that like estimating when you are out or at a party or whatever, like the easier that stuff becomes for you to like use your eyeballs, use your best judgment, learn how to eat at a diner, right? We've heard the like side of 12 pancakes versus the like veggie omelet with potatoes. Like there are just different ways, and there's strategies for sure. But anyway,
and I definitely think, we give ourselves breaks. I probably give myself a few more than you do, just because of the way we feel. Not so much like about appearance or weight or anything like that, but it's mainly for feel, because you have some other things going on where all these foods like don't sit with you as well as like and they don't sit with me particularly that well, some of them, but
they don't anymore, and you like to tell yourself that they
but I'm not going to learn my lesson. But like there are some people, and like maybe you'll see these people out on social media or whatever, that are super hardcore, and they never like have a cheat meal, or like super competitive, like CrossFit Games athletes, like they may have like a cheat meal a year. Then you have The Rock that does like this crazy cheat meals. So there's so many different things, but like I do like to give myself a break. Like when we go to your parents' house for the holidays, your mom makes tons of cookies, like I eat the cookies.
You do.
And I enjoy myself. And
you do.
Like that's what I like to do. Like I'm not so hard on myself where it's like, oh my God, if I gain a little belly fat, I'm like, whatever, I can come back to my macros and be fine.
Totally. I think again, it just depends on people's goals. And I think what's also important to know, and then we'll wrap this up and start to talk about nutrition on the golf course,
sure,
is that there's value, first of all, too, in eating like fun foods like that for the holidays, and for indulging in the wedding cake at your best friend's wedding or whatever that it is. But we need to understand the difference between what every once in a while really is and what it is in your reality. And again, that's where tracking, just to track for the knowledge part, no matter what your goals are, becomes really, really helpful, because a lot of people say, I eat 80-20, I eat really well, but they're 50 pounds overweight. So what happened? Right. Things slowly happen over time. So nobody put 50 pounds of body fat on, in 3 months. That didn't happen. It happened gradually, slowly over time. You started to slow down. You sat at a desk job. You aren't as active as you were when you were in college playing your sport, whatever. But the weekends matter. The weekends are 2 out of 7 days. It's my favorite thing to talk about. That's 30%. 2 out of 7 is literally 28 point something percent. If we include Friday, that's 40% of your week. So we can eat religiously, beautifully, 4 days a week. Who cares? We need to be honest with what every once in a while really is, because I think that's one of the biggest traps that I see with a lot of my clients is like, I just had a check-in this week when someone was just like, these last 2 weeks were a wash. And I'm like, 2 weeks were just a wash? Like the whole 2 weeks? Because like we traveled for 3 of those days. So we just blew it all up for 2 weeks. And people say that all the time. Or I went out to eat and I have no idea what I had, so I didn't track. You have no idea what you ate? I bet you can literally recall exactly what you ordered, because we all remember the things that we eat when we go out to restaurants, right? So did you try, or did we just say, because I couldn't be perfect, I just decided to like let it blow up for the next 3 weeks? I just wrote the whole month off of December. I wrote the whole month off because I did one meal out. That's what happens when we get into this trap of this, oh, well, I'm an all or nothing thinker. And I'm like, well, yeah, all of us are. You're not special. Everybody is all or nothing, right? You have to choose when it's okay to like just give yourself a little bit of slack and not think that it's the end all be all because you had one cocktail and it's the end of the world. So you're going to write off the rest of the next 3 weeks or whatever arbitrary thing that you do, where one like fuck up leads to the next, to the next, right. to the next.
You just throw the whole day away. And then the day turns into the weekend.
So again, it's about accountability for me. And that's where I think tracking can be really, really helpful. But yeah, so yeah, I think, performance goals for you, for me, I'm trying to be just a little bit more like, just kind of get back into feeling a little bit better, which again, macros will definitely help with. Yeah. I it's just to be clear, I don't really have a specific, like, I'm not trying to get to a certain weight or body fat or anything like that. I think I feel pretty good. My workouts have been feeling really good too. And I think that's a result of being in a slight surplus, maintenance-y surplus situation. Doesn't take a lot to have a surplus. Sometimes an extra 100, 150 calories a day will do it to get you feeling really good in the gym. But just like cutting, bulking's the same way. Like your body kind of you're like, all right, I've had enough. My digestion's starting to feel, I'm just like, blah all the time, where you're like, right. Cool. So after about 12 weeks, it's like, all right, let's dial it back into maintenance, where I usually end up feeling the best, and just kind of go from there.
Right. Let me ask you a question real quick. So I get this a lot. People, when they first start a exercise program, sometimes their goal is weight loss, right? Which I've always find is tricky, because if you're actually if you don't exercise at all, and you're starting a program, and then all of a sudden you also want to cut weight as well, I don't like people to like try to go ahead and go into a caloric deficit and start a program at the same time, because I want you to build muscle, right? Like that's the thing that's going to benefit you more, right? So like and that's hard to tell people, because they immediately want to start losing weight. Like, kind of, what is your take on that?
I love that question. I get that question a lot too. And I see it because I support Paragon in their nutrition coaching too. So we see thousands of members as well. And a lot of them come in, they have body goals, and they have that same exact question. Two-pronged answer. The first one is that I believe in not changing so many variables. So
all at once.
Correct.
Right.
So if you are starting a new workout program, great. Focus on that first. Right? Get that like habit underway, especially if you're coming from zero. It depends. If you're someone who's already been working out and you're switching, that's maybe a different answer, which I'll go into. But if you're coming out of like a hiatus of working out or not doing as much into a more structured program, then focus on that program and see what it can do for your body alone. Because first of all, we've talked about this before too. We don't need to flip your world upside down. Nobody, that's typically not a sustainable approach for someone that's trying to get into like just creating some good habits. we don't need to throw it all against spaghetti all against the wall right at the same time.
You don't need a kitchen sink it all at once.
Yeah. See what the workout program will do for you by itself. That's not to say that you shouldn't also focus on some nutritional things. That might be a good time to just start tracking your food. That's where I would say, cool.
Let's see where you're at right now without changing anything.
Yes, and then
which people will change something because they don't want to track. They're like, oh, if I eat this donut, I have to put it in here.
Well,
so stop it anyway.
That's a really good
It's a causation effect a little bit, right?
Let's talk about causation effect, which was going to be my second prong of this conversation. Typically, when someone starts working out, maybe they see fat loss or weight loss because it's more of a secondary effect. I'm working out, therefore I feel better because I'm working out. Therefore, I'm starting my day off with a great thing, like that is my workout. So the rest of the day, I'm going to make better food decisions. I'm going to take better care of my body. I'm going to sleep better. Therefore, my food cravings are going to go down because I'm going to have better energy. And then it's that cycle of all of those really good biofeedback things. Biofeedback, again, energy, hunger, sex hormones, sex drive, recovery, soreness, workouts, all of that stuff, that all ends up getting better. And the food, again, it's not necessarily a direct result of the workout itself. It's just that the workout led to all of those other things being a little bit better and more improved. And so we see those results. So that's where we associate, oh, well, it must be this workout that I'm, yes, but like, here's why that's happening. It's not because you're burning 500 calories doing 30 minutes of weight training, because you're not.
Right.
You're probably, again, we both know we overestimate how many calories we burn in a workout. No matter what the workout is, you're probably overestimating what it is. Your watch is definitely overestimating what it is, whatever. It's the secondary things. It's I have better energy, so I'm going to get up and move more throughout my day. I'm going to walk more. I'm going to have better energy to play with my kids. Oh, all of a sudden I feel so much better. Oh, I'm losing body fat, probably because of those things.
Yeah, we see the causation effect when people train for golf fitness too. They get better at golf. Why is that? It's not necessarily just because you went to the gym and did some golf workouts. You put it all together. You're like, hey, if I'm going to devote more time into training for golf in the gym, I'm also going to go out onto the course. I'm going to spend more time on the putting green. I'm going to chip a few more times. I'm going to work on my swing on the driving range. I'm going to put more effort into it.
Yes.
So when someone's like, hey, I started training for golf fitness and I lowered my handicap by, whatever they lowered it. It's like, well, you probably practiced more too. Like, I would love to be like, oh yeah, golf fitness did all this stuff for you. But it's like, that's not true. Like the causation effect, you probably practiced more.
Yes.
You paid attention more. You put more effort into it.
Yes.
And you got better.
Same thing with tracking macros, right? This is why I always start my clients off with, we're not cutting. We're not bulking. We are tracking. That is what we are doing. Step one. Why? Because when people start to track their food, again, sort of like your budget on your credit card or whatever, you're looking at it every day, you're tracking what you're putting into your body, you're probably going to start to pay more attention and do better things for your body. We typically see that people eat out less because it's a little easier to track eating at home, which it is. It's also easier to hit your macros when you have more control over what you're putting into your meals and what your meals are made out of, right? So when we're eating out less, what tends to happen? Less of the dressings and oils that they use in eating out, right? We all know eating out is yummy, and it's extra yummy because they use lots of extra secret sauces in there. You would know that best. They pump butter into like a chicken breast.
Well, they actually fully submerge your chicken breast in butter and then put it on the grill.
Right. Like literally that's a thing. And whether we want to deny it or not, Chick-fil-A is a grilled chicken sandwich is way better than the one you make at home for a reason. And that's fine. I'm not sitting here demonizing any of that stuff. But anyway, once we start tracking our food, we start to cook more at home. We start to snack less because we're like, oh, I'm not sure how to track like that handful of M&Ms that I grab. So I'm just not going to do it. I see that all the time with my clients and they think, well, this is awesome. I'm dieting. And I'm like, well, not really. We're just paying attention to our food and we're being more intentional about it. And so naturally some body fat's probably going to come off because you're actually just eating better.
Yeah. and you have the education, right? Like, that's why I love macros. Like, for example, like I'm training really hard right now. So I'm hungry and I know how much calories my body needs. I know when I track them, how many it's had. And so like at the end of the night when we're watching TV and I'm like, oh man, I could really like crush some snacks right now. I look at my macros. I'm like, you know what? I'm good for the day. Like my body's got what it needs. this is just my cravings. This isn't real hunger. I'm fine. Drink my sparkling water, chew a piece of gum, like, you know.
That's good. That's good on you.
Like, I mean, I'll go to bed when, I mean, you know, I'm going to bed right now just a little bit hungry, but I'm also still like gaining a little bit of weight, so I'm adequately fed. It's not because I'm malnourished.
That's right.
Or anything like that. Like, it's just, it's kind of the cycle that I like put myself in. Like, you know, I loved like having dessert, or I loved like having things like that. Like sometimes, you know, it's like, I've had enough for today.
Yes.
Like, my body doesn't need that. Would it taste good? Yeah, but it's not going to help my goals.
That's right. That's a good mindset to have. And I think it's important to think like, I always tell people the food's not going anywhere. Like, you know, everyone that's like, oh, there was cake at the party. I'm like, okay, well, will there be another party with cake? Probably in your future. Like, we live in abundance of food here in America. Sorry, but we do. Like, we are blessed. Most of us live amongst all of the convenience stores, all of the candy everywhere, all of the snacks everywhere. Every event that you ever would go to always has food. Like, it's wild, but it does. Everything is centered around food. So yeah, like this whole scarcity mindset around food sometimes too is like, can get us in this trap of like, well, I have to have this right now. And it's like, you don't. Hunger isn't an emergency. Right. And there will always be more cake and cookies and your grandmother's whatever the fuck is going to be there next time you have a party. Like, it's fine. It will come back.
Unless you're getting the once in a lifetime opportunity where someone invites you to go to the French Laundry out in Napa, the #1 restaurant in the world. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
You can go there.
Save it for the things. But then it's so much better. That's the thing is once we really do, once we actually take it away a little bit, we appreciate the like us going out for our ice cream or whatever we like to go do. And it's like, this is awesome because we don't do it every day. We do it like every other week or whatever.
Right. And those Oreos taste a little better, even though I could have Oreos every day if I want to.
Right.
The Oreos in my ice cream taste a little better.
Right.
Kind of like how we figured out in Florida. Like, you know, one thing we talked about was you don't really appreciate the beautiful sunshiny weather without any bad days. So in Southern Florida, every day it was 80 degrees and sunny. It's like, oh, I'm tired of this. Give me a rainy day. And then because now when a sunny day comes around, you know, it's like, wow, this is great. Kind of same thing with food.
It is the same thing. Everyone hates us because it's like winter is like still among us, kind of. We're coming out of winter maybe, and
I mean it's only February, but yeah,
everybody is like, oh, Florida, like that sounds awesome, and it's like, yeah, maybe it does a little bit right now, but let me tell you, 80 degrees and hot and humid every day, 85 degrees, 90 degrees.
It was
hot and humid every day. It got.
It's gonna get hot here too. Oklahoma's hot.
Oklahoma is hot. Texas
and we'll be out there
hot.
Dying, playing golf, and making sure we have proper nutrition while we're out there, or else we're gonna be in deep shit.
So let's talk about a day of golf. Now that we kind of know our approach to just general nutrition, I do think it's an important. Again, I'll say this till the cows come home. Literally, I think that everybody that is an athlete that wants to start getting smart with their nutrition, including weekend warrior golfers, should at some point track for a consistent amount of time, 2 to 3 weeks every day. So just because we're going out for golf for that day, that doesn't mean that you're going to feel awesome just because I'm going to tell you what you should eat on that day of golf. I believe the other days of the week also matter. I would tell any athlete that if you're preparing for a race, you're obviously going to like need to pay attention to your nutrition the days leading up to the race. You should know more about what your body generally needs every day, so that you can then make adjustments going forward for your event, for your long weekend of golf all weekend, where you're going to get 20,000 steps every day. Like, we should know where we're coming from, so you have a good baseline to start from.
From a calorie perspective, right?
From a calories perspective, and also macros, like understanding a little bit of nuance with your proteins, carbs, and fats. I think that's important as well, because calories are important. Calories are, you know, units of energy. That's all they are, is measuring how much energy that you're taking in. But macros is taking that to a step further, where we're looking at proteins, carbs, fats. And I think that is important for athletes to know, because protein, that's going to be our recovery, our muscles, muscle retention, getting stronger, muscle, you know, making sure that we're taking in enough amino acids so that muscle protein synthesis is happening. Carbs, energy. We're walking 20,000 steps a day. Even if it's a 10,000 step day at golf, within the cart, I mean, you're still moving a lot. You're still playing for hours on end. So there's definitely.
Well, you want to have your energy all the way through.
You want to have your energy the whole time. You don't want to
4 hours.
You don't want to feel good the first 9 and then be like, oh shit, I'm like hitting a wall at the end. So anyway, let's talk about just a day of golf. I mean, you know, most people, I would say, on the weekends are playing in the morning, generally speaking, but I guess some people start in the afternoon.
I mean, my tee time is going to be at like noon today.
Your tee time's at noon. We've played also at 7 a.m. in the summertime. So I think a thing that's really important for golf is because it is so long, getting a meal in beforehand, like a solid meal beforehand. I'm talking upwards of like 8,000-9,000 calories, depending on your size, is really important. So we could break that down for people. Maybe it's like consuming 1/3 of your day's calories before your golf round starts. That means that we're eating a really good breakfast. It has probably all of the macros. I do encourage people to go lighter on fats before events or before playing a sport, because fats tend to slow digestion down a little bit. It makes us feel like that sluggish feeling. So that means that...
So for golfers, what that means is the pork missile at the turn is not the best idea.
Yeah, it just is going to make you feel sluggish. It's that whole like you eat a Chipotle bowl and after, and then your work day is shot because you feel like hot garbage because you consumed a lot of calories all at once and your body's like, hold the phone, we're working on digesting, and your body doesn't want to do anything else. As opposed to higher protein, more carbs is what I like to see people starting out with. So yeah, we like to think of eggs as having high protein. They don't. They have a good amount of fats. It doesn't mean we can't have eggs, right? An egg is like 60 to 70 calories. So like you can have a few eggs, maybe throw in some egg whites. Again, I'm a huge fan of I'm a fan of the dinners for breakfast. I'm not going to lie. So if you have some grilled chicken from the night before, maybe throw that into your eggs. If you're feeling like a sub from Wawa or Jersey Mike's or the gas station, where are we at? Royal Farms Quick Trip. That can be a good one too. You can do like a lunch meat with like bread. Like that's actually a really good amount of carbohydrate and protein combination. Throw on your veggies. You can throw on a piece of cheese, but be light on like the cheese and the mayo and the things that are higher fat.
Right.
Lots of protein, carbs. Again, like try to get 1/3 of your day's calories. So that, again, if you're eating 2,500 calories, like you're probably aiming for like an 800 calorie meal to sustain you for the next couple of hours of playing. So
that's what I do. I have a meal, and then it depends on if you're going to go warm up, if you're going to get on the driving range, like how long that meal should be in your system before you actually go out there and start swinging the club. And then I typically, when I'm out there, people comment on this all the time, and they're like, the funniest thing is people will tell me like, how are you so lean if you eat this much? I love hearing that. It's usually bigger guys that say that to me. But anyways, because I'm constantly like kind of consuming calories. Like I'll drink, my drink has a little pre-workout in it, and I like to have a little caffeine before I go play. Caffeine is one of the best supplements out there to improve performance. So I like to have a little, unless you get nervous on the first tee, like watch your caffeine. But anyways, so I have a little, because it can like give you the jitters and stuff like that. But anyways, so I'll have some caffeine, and then in my shaker will be like a carb supplement. It's like my electrolytes and carbs, and I'm sipping on that. I'll eat a banana usually like already by like the 4th, and I walk. So by like the 3rd or 4th hole, I'm already like consuming a banana. At the turn, I'll have a protein shake in there throughout the day. I'll sip on that. And then at the turn, I bring my normal lunch. Like, so I have tacos. So I have 3 tortillas and just ground turkey. Yeah. Made into taco meat, and I'm going to eat that. Very high
protein, high carb.
Yeah, I mean, and I won't even make it into tacos. Like it's in a little container that's just meat, and then I have my 3 tortillas, and I'll just be walking down the fairway, and I got a spoon. I'll be eating my my turkey meat, and then I'll even be eating tortillas while I'm like putting, and I'll set it. It's gross, but I'll kind of like set it on the ground and then pick it back up and eat it. And
yeah, so I think.
It's normal meals throughout the day. And then again, like when I'm on like hole like 14, 15, like I'll start, have another snack. So I just want to keep my energy levels high, and I don't want to like, overwhelm myself like on the turn or something like that, where you grab a couple hot dogs. And if you like that and you like your hot dogs and your beer, just like kind of know that like that wouldn't be the best thing for your performance. But if you love it, live your best life sometimes.
Yeah. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, go.
Okay, perfect. So again, for those of you that don't love to slam, 800 calories at 6 o'clock in the morning for a 7 a.m. tee time, to your point of what you're after, I think that there's some alternatives. One, make sure that you're eating enough the day before. And this is where I said leading up to the day, leading up to the week before. We don't need to be pounding alcohol. We don't need to be dehydrated. We don't need to be eating like shit the night before. Eat a good meal the night before as well. Get a good night's sleep. Throw down some calories still in the morning. Try to bring, like, in your car, can you get in like a half of that meal that I suggested? Can you eat half your sandwich? Can you do like a bowl of oatmeal with some maybe a little bit of nut butter, even though that's fatty, but like some sustenance. And then like a couple hours later, or maybe as you're into your round, feel free to then start to continue to eat, finish your meal, get the calories in. Because you want to stay ahead of it before you get famished. I feel like people wake up and they're like, well, I'm not hungry when I wake up. And I'm like, well, that's probably because you overconsume at night every night and you wake up not hungry, because you kind of go through that cycle of, well, I eat 1,500 calories, or 2,000 calories at night after 4 p.m. So you wake up not hungry for breakfast. Start to incorporate foods earlier in your day and see what that does to your energy levels and see what that does to your game, because I'm going to guarantee that you're going to feel a hell of a lot better after you're walking around for 2.5 hours and you still have 5 more holes to play or 6 more holes to play or whatever. You're going to have that energy that's going to be there for you for your game, and you're not going to feel famished. You're not going to need the hot dog at the turn or whatever the sausage thing is that you said.
Pork missile?
Yes. I want to encourage people to start to shift what their mindset around it, because eventually y'all are going to get hungry. I've seen it. Y'all pound the things once
bags of chips, like stuff like that.
Famished, wondering why you feel like shit in your round or why you're really, really thirsty. And it's because you haven't been setting yourself up for success in the days leading up to your round of golf. And you're also getting used to being quote unquote fasted in the morning, all morning, or starting with beer or whatever that it is. Start with your protein and your carbs and fill up on some good stuff. Your body's not going to want the extra bag of chips or the snacks or the foods that you like tend to nosh on for just fast calories. Your body's craving those fast calories because you're famished and because it's asking for energy and it needs some good food. Be prepared with that stuff. And if you're not going to want to eat some chicken and vegetables like a psycho freak like I am in the morning, I get that. But can you meet somewhere in the middle and at least bring your own meals and bring your own food? Get the sandwich at the convenience store. Grab a bar. That can be totally fine if that's a little bit easier for somebody that has like a little bit of protein and carbs in it. Peanut butter sandwiches, lunch meat sandwiches, those types of things from home are also really good options. But again, I think to try to stay ahead of it and have a good amount of energy is very, very important. And then again, hydration is the other thing that I just kind of wanted to touch on, which is just, make sure that we are drinking plenty of water, but also electrolytes. We can consume a lot of water, but if we're not consuming enough electrolyte, we tend to just pee all of our water out, which is not really what we want it to do. We want to have a good water balance in our body. So if we're consuming electrolyte, whether it's having some salt in our water or actually just adding like an electrolyte, like an LMNT or a liquid IV or whatever's in your pre-workout.
I use Carbolin. It's like carbs.
Carbolin is good.
Carbs and electrolytes.
Add that to your water for sure. You don't need to have tons of it, but especially on the days where we're sweating a lot, it's not a bad idea to think about bringing 2 packets of electrolytes to make sure that we're staying hydrated and balanced. And, if you like to drink when you're playing around, that's cool. But again, if your goal is to feel pretty good, try to prioritize water, protein first. Then, like, if you're feeling like you want to have a beer or whatever later on in your round, go for it. But don't have that first, because that tends to lead to pretty bad decision making. And of course, one beer leads to multiple of those, right? So we want to kind of stay ahead of it and fill up on the good stuff first.
Well, I think you just got to anticipate, how much time you're going to be out there. Like, it could be over 4 hours. If you're talking about driving to the course, doing a range warm up, putting, getting on your tee time, it could be a long day. It could be a busy course. You could, we've all been on the golf course for 6 hours. How many times would you normally eat within that 6 hours?
At least twice, like two meals.
You would eat. And, too often I see guys like out there just drinking beer and eating potato chips. And then, they're getting pretty sluggish by the last few holes, especially. I mean, hell, even by the turn at some point, so to play your best, you definitely want to be properly fueled, and treat it like you would any other activity that you want to go into, like well fed and prepared and be ready to do your best.
Yeah. Take care of yourself. And I mean, I want to hear from people on this, because I might be a little biased, but I think nutrition is really important. I think we could see a lot of improvements on the golf course in people's nutrition. Mm-hmm. Again, what people offer at like the courses, like the offerings are not always the best, right?
Oh, of course not.
Just like anywhere else, you see the very much like snack bar type food. So I do believe in bring a freaking cooler. It is not hard to bring. You literally do bring your tacos and your meat, and like I do the same thing. People always ask me, like, how do you take stuff on the go? And I literally just am like, there's not a secret here. I literally stick the food that I eat on my plate at home into a bowl. Yeah. And I stick it into a dish. Then I cover it up and I bring it with me on the go. Mm-hmm. I will eat something room temperature. I don't give a fuck. Put it, if you're going to be out on a long, hot day, put it in a cooler, obviously. And like, don't eat unsafe meat or whatever. But like, It's not that hard to take that extra amount of time. You're going to save yourself a few bucks. You won't be in an emergency situation where you're like backed up, on a hole because everyone's playing super slow and you're like, shit, what am I going to do? And all you have is your buddy's like, I almost said your buddy's nuts. And I just said your buddy's nuts. Mm-hmm. Or whatever they have in their fucking pocket. You have your own stuff that's going to make you feel good, that you like, that's going to keep you feeling really good. And like, I bet we will have people try this out and feel really good on the back nine or the last couple holes where they're usually feeling like garbage because they're sunburnt and dehydrated. Mm-hmm. Play a lot better because they're going to have a lot more energy. I bet.
Well, they'll have more energy because they're doing my workouts. Yes. So they're going to have more muscular endurance, have more power, and have more strength to get them through the entire round anyway. So
100%.
They're going to pair that with your nutrition advice, and then they're going to be set.
Well, yeah. I mean, and again, by the time this airs, we will have more than likely our in-season program will be running. Our subscription will be running. Mm-hmm. We'll have a few Cody Wescott golfers out there doing the programming and doing the golfing.
We've already got hundreds already.
Yes. And the nutrition blueprint, which I should talk about. I mean, that'll be coming out the same time as our subscription for people that want to learn more, to kind of have basically a blueprint, because that's what it's called, but like an actual kind of step-by-step guide on how to personalize your own nutrition game. It's going to be a pretty comprehensive guide to get people started, no matter where you're starting from. It's of course going to be macro based, but I do encourage people to be on the lookout for that. If you're not signed up for our newsletter, definitely get signed up. We'll put the link, of course, in the show notes for all of that stuff always. You can also find it on Cody's Instagram. But we'll keep everybody updated on the release of that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, we're signing off. Let's tell everyone where they can find us.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cody Wescott Golf on Instagram, right?
And YouTube.
And the YouTubes. Oh,
the YouTubes. Yes. The YouTubes. I love it.
And I'm Erika Elko on Instagram. ErikaElko, because that's my maiden name and it will always be.
We're not going to change the maiden name.
Maybe one day that Instagram will get changed. Who knows? But for now, that's what it is.
It's good. And Swat says, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. He's been hiding, but he is here. All right, everybody. Next time. See you later.